Hi, this is Kamal the Builder yet again. Thank you so much for joining us. As you know, I like to describe some of the things we do in construction, such as types of foundation. We have been shooting videos on the type of flooring. We've shot videos on the types of tiles and how you select the right tiles. Today we'll do a deep dive into flooring, and I'll describe various aspects of flooring. As you can see, I'm in a beautiful showroom by Bantham Flooring, and we certainly will recommend this place to customers. They have so many nice types of wood. So let's do a deep dive into selecting certain types of wood for certain areas, how customers make selections, and go through some of these details. And we'll wrap up our tour with the warehouse area, so you can see how this type of wood is even stored back at the warehouse. So let's start with describing some of these details about wood. And today we're talking about engineered wood more than other types of wood. So engineered wood typically comes in so many different types. You can see there are different textures, there are different knots. So the wood is graded along different types of knots and the different types of finishes. They go from AB to ABC to ABCD. Basically, the AB type of material has the fewest number of knots. It's meant for smaller spaces, and the ABC and ABCD type of wood typically has more knots. And when you have larger spaces, such as large homes, large rooms, that type of wood, finished engineered wood, looks really, really nice. The other metrics around which customers can grade the type of wood and select the type of wood for separate areas also depends on the thickness of wood, the thickness of the material, the color of the wood. Do you want your floors to be light? Do you want your floors to have a certain oak color, mahogany, cherry? All those details come into play. How does the color of the flooring work with your cabinets, for example, in the kitchen? How does it work in the bathrooms, for example? So all those factors come into play. Do you need a grain? Do you need texture on your flooring? Or do you want it to be completely smooth? And all that stuff, of course, are thoughts for consideration. These days we see a lot of neutral colors. We see a lot of European oak being used in flooring materials. And now we'll give you a deep dive into some special areas where you have to consider the flooring material and how it matches. So let's show you a set of steps here. You see, these steps are made with very, very nice flooring material here. Engineered wood, but it has a nice texture. It looks like real wood. And the thickness of the floor becomes important because there are building codes associated with what's called rise and run, which is how high each step has to be and what's the depth of each of these steps. So this depth has to meet the building codes, and this height has to meet the building codes. And this could be as narrow as this, or it could even cover the entire area if you don't want to see a gap in here. So that's one type of wooden step that we can show you. And here's another example of a wooden step you can see. So here the gap is covered, and we showed you our project in San Francisco that has that type of material. And we've talked about bullnosing before. Let's show you some options available in bullnoses. So the floor can wrap around like this. That's another bullnose, a narrower bullnose. This is another type of bullnose. This is yet another type of bullnose. So those are various things to consider as you look at flooring choices for your steps. Also consider that when you have a circular staircase, the steps are not perfectly rectangular. The steps can be made at an angle. So this is narrower than this, and there's a curve here, there's a curve here. So as you look at circular staircases, those things come into play. Let's do a deep dive into what to look for in a flooring material. So let's show you a cross section of an engineered floor, and you'll see that how it's put together and what you should look out for. So this layer of wood on top typically is 4 millimeters, and then you generally have plywood in the middle, and then you have these edges that I've talked about before. These edges meet this edge, and that's how you start to have some degree of water resistance. And sometimes these floors are called waterproof, sometimes these are called water resistant. Keep in mind, for everyday use, the waterproof and water resistant floors are fine. What you don't want is standing water. Standing water is when you run into trouble. After all, it's wood. It does not tolerate standing water very well, so you want to avoid that. Let's look at something else. So I just showed you a floor that has 4 millimeters of wood on top, followed by a uniform layer of plywood, and that's how that floor is finished. Let's show you an inferior grade floor, which is also sold at a high price, but these are things to watch out for as you select your floor. This flooring material, this floor, does not have the 4 millimeter layer of wood. It has a veneer on top which is very thin. So when you get rid of the top polish, then you start to see the veneer. And if you get rid of the veneer, so that layer is the veneer. So the top layer is not really a 4 millimeter layer of wood. It's just a thin veneer, which means it'll, with wear and tear, you'll damage it very easily. The other thing to know about a flooring material like this, you see it's plywood at the corners, plywood at the edges, and then they use softer wood in the middle. Again, plywood at the edges and then softer wood in the middle. So now, having been an engineer, I know that wood will expand and contract at different rates if you have two different types of wood inside, or if it gets wet. The plywood at the end versus the softwood in the middle, if water gets there, will contract and expand at different rates. So your floor will start to warp. So in this material, you see there are two types of wood being used to fill. So hardwood in the corners at the edges and softwood throughout the floor. That's not really a good practice. I think over time you'll start to see trouble with that type of floor. And look at the higher quality of flooring material here, a true 4 millimeter layer of wood on top, followed by a uniform layer of plywood that runs throughout the floor. It's not just at the edge. So every wood that they use here, it runs throughout the edge of throughout the length of the floor. So that way, in case it expands or contracts, or in case it has any water coming in, it's going to expand and contract at the same level. And that's what you want, because then your floor does not get warped like this inferior floor I'm showing you. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Let's give you a peek into the warehouse area so you'll see how this type of material is stored in the back. So follow me along and we'll show you the warehouse. We are now in the back section of the warehouse, and you can see the amount of flooring material that's stored here. Why is this important for our video? What has happened through COVID is we have huge supply chain issues. For example, windows and doors. In the past, we could order them and we could get them in 7 to 10 days. These days, windows are taking between 12 to 16 weeks, depending on who you order the windows from. Similarly, with flooring material also, there's supply chain issues which has caused delays on various projects. The reason I brought you here to this warehouse is you can see how much material this company has stored in stock here, so that if you were to order any of the flooring material, they have the material right here in stock. They can ship it to you right away. So look behind me and see how much flooring material they're storing here. So you see, we can go on, and the stock is there, it's ready to be shipped. And this is a very busy company, very active company. We recommend it to a lot of clients. So contact us and we will help you find the right flooring material, and we'll help you place the order. And you see how much material they have that's ready to be sent to you, so you don't suffer from those supply chain disruptions that we've been seeing. Once again, thank you for being with us. This is Kamal the Builder, and contact us and we'd love to help you. Let's show you an interesting touch, because as you build a nice primary home, expensive home with nice finishes or expensive finishes, these are the special things to look out for. So in the same area, we have this vent, and you can see that the vent can be carved out of the same flooring material, so it'll match the floor. And if you have these registers in your floor, now the registers will kind of hide within your wooden floor. So these are special things that you can find at the better places, at the better outlets, and these are things you can look for as you build your dream home. This will really make your dream home look beautiful. So with that, this is Kamal the Builder. Thank you so much.